We are 20 days into the Russian-Ukraine war, and Brookings' Michael O'Hanlon says that it is time to put a serious peace plan together that centers on Ukrainian neutrality. Joining us right now to talk about what this means is Michael O'Hanlon. He's a Brookings Institution Senior Fellow in Foreign Policy. Michael, I understand the desire to try and get to a point where we can stop the shooting and maybe get to a better place. But I have to say, watching what's happened overnight with Russia sending missiles landing 20 miles away from the Polish border doesn't give you a whole lot of hope that there are any good potential options on the table.
Well, Becky, you're right to be skeptical, of course. But if you look at the other side of why Russia carried out that attack, Russia is aware that it's not winning this war. And it's also aware that the weapons that we're successfully sending into Ukraine, despite the controversy as to whether to send fighter jets, are having a huge battlefield impact. And so what this means is there is the possibility that Vladimir Putin is realizing that he's bitten off more than he can chew here. And what I sort of interpret as, his overconfidence parallel to our overconfidence in the 2003 Iraq invasion is perhaps now being reassessed. And the question would be, what is Russia's minimal standard for success here, or minimal objective that it would be willing perhaps to obtain and then rethink everything else in order to reduce the incredible Western economic pressure that's being brought to bear, much more, I think, than Putin anticipated, as well as the battlefield performance of Ukrainian resistance. So you're right. We can't know this for sure. But, if Putin has any kind of sanity about him, which I think he does at some level, then he is going to have to recognize that guaranteeing Ukrainian neutrality is perhaps an acceptable outcome if he can also get his economy back and prevent a huge military quagmire.
I think that it brings up all kinds of questions. First of all, the idea that he recognizes these things. Second of all, that he'd be willing to lose face, because I don't see a deal getting done that he doesn't have to make some substantial admission that he was wrong. And Steve Leisman's here. He brought up the excellent point earlier today. Even if he does that, would that mean a change in business relations, because he has done such horrible things, war crimes that have been committed in Ukraine? How do we go back to doing business with him?
Well, that latter question's tough, but I'm not sure Putin needs us to welcome him at G7 meetings. I think if he has the sanctions lifted on his country, he can probably get by without some of the trappings of previous recognition that he enjoyed. In terms of what he would accept, again, I don't know, but I do sense that this is a person who's staring ahead at many months or years of Ukrainian military resistance, when he's already got an economy that was flat the last decade prior to this invasion, and that now is being sanctioned in a way that's really unprecedented for any major economy on earth. So you put all that together, and it's just got to be a potential moment of rethinking. Now, you talk about how he would have to acknowledge that he's wrong. Well, maybe you and I would say that. He doesn't have to say that. He doesn't have to say that to his own people. We know he's the master of disinformation, not only towards us, but towards his own Russian voters and citizens. And he could still claim that this was the great accomplishment that prevented NATO from continuing its eastward march. So he would find a way to trumpet this, I think.